Jack Carter's ship shook violently as it dropped through the moon's atmosphere. Sparks flew from the control panel. Warning lights blinked red, and alarms screamed in his ears. "Stabilizers offline," the computer said calmly. Jack cursed. Under his breath, he wasn't a soldier or a hero. He was a cargo pilot. He delivered supplies to colonies. That's it. But now, something had hit his ship, maybe a mine. Maybe Pirate Sandy was falling fast toward an unknown moon. The ground came up too quickly. Jack pulled hard on the controls, trying to soften the crash. It didn't help much. Boom. The ship slammed into rocky ground, skidding across the surface and throwing up clouds of dust. Metal groaned. The front hull crumpled. Act. Jack's head slammed against the console. Then, silence. He woke up a few minutes later. His head hurt. Blood trickled down his cheek. But he was alive. Lucky, he muttered, dragging himself out of the wrecked cockpit. Outside, the moon was dry, gray, and full of sharp rocks. The sky was dark, filled with stars and a large green planet hanging above like a god. His comms were broken. No signal. No help. He had to find shelter before night fell, or something worse came. Jack grabbed a pack of supplies and began walking. After an hour of wandering, he found something strange. A cave entrance covered with vines. The vines didn't belong here. This moon was dead. Curious, he pushed them aside and stepped inside. The cave wasn't a cave. It was a tunnel. Old, metal, and half-buried. It looked like part of an ancient base. Jack followed the path, his flashlight lighting the way. Then he heard it, a weak voice. Not human. "Help. Please." Jack raised his light and moved forward. The tunnel opened into a small, broken room. Inside were two figures, one large, one very small, huddled in a corner. The larger figure was female. Her skin was pale blue with soft silver hair and long limbs. Her eyes glowed dimly in the dark. She looked up at him with pain and fear. Beside her was a little girl, maybe 3 years old, wrapped in a torn blanket. The child didn't move. She was too thin, too quiet. The mother raised a hand, trembling. She tried to speak English through an old translator. "Please, feed my daughter." Her voice cracked. No. Then she looked straight at him and said something that shook Jack's heart. "Choose me instead." Jack blinked. What? She small. No food, not enough for both. "Take her. Feed her. Leave me." Jack knelt beside them. The mother's body was weak. Her eyes pleaded with him. She thought he was here to take one of them. She'd already decided to die if it meant her daughter could live. But Jack didn't come here to take anyone. "No," he said softly. "I'm not leaving either of you." Opened his pack and pulled out water and nutrient bars. The mother hesitated, then carefully helped the girl take small bites. The child Lila slowly chewed and swallowed. The tears rolled down the mother's cheeks. "My name's Jack," he said gently. "Valari," the mother replied. "She is, Lilu. What happened to you?" Laurie spoke in broken English, and Jack listened. She and her daughter were part of a peaceful alien race called the Thaleen. Their ship was attacked by slavers. Most of her people were captured. She escaped with Lilu in a small pod and crashed here weeks ago. They had been hiding in this broken base since then, with almost no food. She had eaten the last scraps yesterday. She was ready to give up. Jack stared at the two of them. He couldn't imagine the pain she had been through. But now that he was here, they weren't alone anymore. He opened a small blanket from his emergency kit and wrapped it around Valari and Lilu. He shared his water, set up a small heater, and placed down a light. "You're safe now," he said. Valara watched him with wide eyes. "Why? Help us." Jack shrugged. "Because it's the right thing to do. I couldn't just walk away." Over the next few days, Jack helped the small family recover. He used old tools to fix the heater and patched up holes in the ceiling. He showed Valari how to use the emergency stove and boiled water from ice. He melted outside. Lilu began to smile again. She didn't speak much, but she followed Jack around. She held his finger with her tiny hand and made soft giggling sounds when he played music from his ship's recorder. Valari grew stronger. She watched Jack with curiosity. She'd heard stories about humans, violent, greedy, dangerous. But this human was different. You are kind, she said one evening, sitting beside the heater. Jack chuckled. Don't believe everything you hear about humans. I owe you my daughter's life. Jack looked at her seriously. I made a promise. I'm getting you both off this moon. That's not changing. But deep inside, he wasn't sure how. The ship was too damaged. The signal beacon was weak. Help could take weeks or never come. Still, he didn't let them see his fear. He focused on keeping them warm, fed, and safe. And every night, Lilu curled up between them and slept peacefully. A family, even if it was a strange one. One night, while checking the broken antenna on the roof, Jack noticed a blinking light on the old Thelene console. A signal, Valari, he called. What is this? She walked over and looked. Her eyes widened in shock. That distress signal. Forgot. It still works. Jack smiled. That means someone might hear us, but neither of them knew. The signal wasn't just reaching friends, it had also reached enemies. Jack stood on the roof of the ruined bunker, staring at the blinking light on the Thelene console. The signal was real. It was weak, but it was still reaching out into space. There was hope now. Someone might hear them. He turned toward Valari, who had just finished wrapping Lilu in a clean blanket. We might get rescued, he said, smiling. Valari looked at him, unsure. Rescue or danger? Signal. Open. Jack frowned. Do you mean anyone could hear it? She nodded. Yes, but also others? That thought made Jack's stomach twist. If slavers were nearby, they might follow the signal too. But he didn't have a choice. They needed to risk it. This moon had no food, no working ship, and no way to survive much longer. We'll be ready, he said, whatever comes. The next few days, Jack worked harder. He reinforced the doors, repaired the tunnel walls with scrap metal, and created simple alarm systems using empty cans and wires. Valari helped where she could, her strength slowly returning. Lilu began smiling more often. She followed wires, she handed him tools, she handed him tools. She handed him tools as when he helped where she helped. Her strength slowly returning, her slash slowly returning. Lilu began smiling. Well, said well said say said when we said well said say said, well, he is a, well is a wow, well was a wow. He said, well, said a mensenade by well, by mensenzenem, by sensenses ensen and sensensensensensensensensensensen and by elibesel femlenza. When he cleaned the water filters, she held the bucket. One morning she looked up at him and said softly, Papa. Jack froze. He looked at Valari. Her eyes were wide. Did she just... Valari smiled gently and nodded. She sees you as family. Jack knelt beside Lilu and hugged her carefully. His chest felt tight. He had no children, no wife. Was always flying between stars, alone. But here, with this little alien girl and her brave mother, something had changed. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was protecting someone. Jack told them stories at night. On Earth, we have dogs, he said, showing a picture on his pad. They're furry, loyal, and love to play. Lilu giggled and pointed. Dog Valari listened with curiosity. Your world sounds warm. It can be cruel too, but mostly it's home. Valari grew quiet. I had a home once. Green trees, blue lakes. Lilu was born there. Jack sat beside her. You'll get back there, or somewhere. New, I promise. You have already given more than most, she said softly. Food, fire, kindness. He looked at her seriously. You gave me something too. She tilted her head. What? Family. Days passed slowly. The air was cold outside, but the bunker stayed warm thanks to the heater and Jack's repairs. They had enough food for another week if they rationed carefully. Jack kept checking the signal console every morning, hoping for a reply. Still nothing. One day he climbed a ridge to search for metal he could salvage. There were broken pieces of old ships scattered across the surface. He bent down to pick up a power cell when he noticed something strange. Footprints not his, and not Valeri's fresh prints. Large, heavy Jack's. Heart pounded. He ran back to the bunker. "Someone's here," he said, locking the doors quickly. Valari stood up, holding Lilu tightly. "Who? I don't know. But they're big. Might be slavers." Valeri's face turned pale. "They found us." Jack checked the scanner on his wristpad. A ship had entered orbit. Small, probably a scout. It wasn't the lean. "Okay," he said, taking a deep breath. "Time to get serious." He gave Valari a small blaster and taught her how to use it. "Okay, only if you have no choice. Protect Lilu." "What will you do?" she asked. "I'll lead them away." Valari grabbed his arm. "No, you are not alone." Jack looked into her eyes. There was no fear there, no, only fire. "Then we fight together," he said that night. They set traps in the tunnel's wires, gas bombs made from old canisters, even sharp spikes hidden under rugs. "Put Lilu in a hidden crawl space with a food pouch and light. If anything happens," he told her. "Quiet. Don't come out until Mama or I return." Lilu nodded bravely and hugged him. Then the noise began. Heavy footsteps. Metal boots. A voice in a strange language echoed down the hall. Jack peeked through a small camera he had fixed. 3 slavers. Big, armored, and armed, they were searching. Jack waited until the lead slaver stepped on the pressure plate. Boom. Gas bomb exploded, filling the tunnel with thick smoke. The slavers shouted. Jack fired his small blaster, hitting one in the leg. Valari fired 2, striking another. The enemy was surprised. They weren't expecting a fight. But the 3rd slaver broke through the smoke and charged. Jack tried to shoot, but the blaster jammed. The alien slammed him against the wall. Pain shot through Jack's side. He dropped the weapon. The slaver raised a blade. Valari screamed and rushed forward. She slammed a pipe into the slaver's back. He roared in pain, turning on her. Jack tackled him from behind. Together, they brought him down. The fight ended quickly. 2 slavers ran away. One lay unconscious. Jack tied him up. Blood dripped from his forehead. Valera's arm was bruised, but she was standing. "We did it," she said, breathing hard. Jack nodded. "Barely." Then they heard a soft voice behind them. "Papa, Mama." Lilu had crawled out of hiding. She looked up at them with big eyes. "You're safe," Jack said. Picking her up, the little girl wrapped her arms around his neck. Valari stood beside them, her hand on Jack's shoulder. For the first time, they weren't just survivors, they were a family. That night, they rested together, bruised but alive. Jack looked at the stars through the broken ceiling. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing for sure. He would protect them, no matter what came. A day had passed since Jack and Valari fought the slavers. The bunker was quiet again, but Jack didn't feel safe. He watched the sky from the roof every hour, scanning with his cracked visor. A small black dot moved across the stars too small. To be a moon, it's too slow to be natural. A ship, not talent. It wasn't going away. They didn't leave, Jack said. They're still up there, watching. Valari stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes cold. They wait for a better time to strike. Doc nodded. They'll come back with more. Valari looked down at the floor. Then we must leave. Jack sighed. Wish I could just fly us out of here, but my ship's broken. No engine, no power. There's one way. Valari said slowly. The slaver's ship. They went back to the old tunnel where the slavers first arrived. The last fight had left blood on the walls, scorch marks on the floor, and one broken door. But the slaver's ship was still there, hidden in a rocky cave near the landing site. It was dark gray and ugly with weapons attached on both sides. Jack studied it for a long time. "Looks like junk from the outside," he muttered. But maybe, just maybe, they entered the ship. The air was stale, filled with old sweat and oil. The controls were alien, but not too different from what Jack had seen before. He found the power core still active, the navigation system still online, and a small cargo bay, just enough room for 3 people. He turned to Valari. "If we fix a few things, this might get us off the moon." Her eyes lit up with hope. But Jack added, "We can't fly it unless we're sure no one else is watching. We need a distraction." That night, Jack sat beside Lilu as she played with a broken music chip. The sound was faint, just a quiet melody from Earth. She hummed along, swinging her legs. Valari sat nearby, sharpening a long piece of metal into a blade. Jack spoke quietly. "We may have to run soon. Things will get dangerous again." Valari nodded. "We will follow you." Looked into her eyes. "You're not afraid anymore." "I was never afraid to die," she said softly. "I was afraid to lose Lilu, but now you protect her like your own. It gives me strength." Jack smiled. "She gave me something to fight for." Early the next morning, Jack put his plan into motion. He rigged the old bunker with fake power signals, blinking lights, and heat signatures. It would look like life signs look like them. Valari took Lilu to the slaver's ship and began prepping it for flight. Jack remained in the bunker to finish the last part of the distraction. He had to make it believable. He activated the old beacon, sending a burst signal straight into orbit. "Distress, alert, Tholine survivors present coordinates attached." Then he whispered, "Come get me, you cowards." The enemy ship responded. Faster than he expected, a shuttle dropped from the sky like a black arrow. It hit the ground hard, kicking up dust. 5 slavers jumped out bigger than before, armed with full armor and plasma rifles. Jack ducked behind a broken wall and watched them approach. They fell for it, he whispered. He waited until they reached the signal beacon. Then he hit the switch. Boom. A large gas pipe exploded, throwing smoke and flames into the air. 2 slavers screamed. The others fired blindly. Jack used the chaos to run fast and low, sprinted across the rocks, back toward the cave where Valari waited. Inside the slavers, Ship Valari sat at the controls. Her hands shook, but she had learned quickly. Jack had taught her what each button meant. Lilu sat strapped in beside her, wide-eyed but silent. "Jack, where are you?" Valari whispered. Just then the door slammed open. "I'm here," Jack shouted, sliding inside. Valari pulled him in and closed the ramp. "Are they following?" Jack nodded. Soon. Jumped into the pilot's seat. The ship hummed under his hands. Power, engine, controls. He flicked switches quickly. The ship lifted. Outside, the slavers spotted them. They fired, but the ship's shields held. "We're flying." Jack shouted. The moon shrank below them. Stars grew brighter. Jack punched the throttle. They broke. Orbit. Inside the ship, everything was tense. The radar showed the enemy ship in pursuit. It was larger, faster, and angrier. "We won't outrun them," Valari said. Jack gritted his teeth. "Then we won't run." He turned the ship around. I gasped. "What are you doing?" Jack pointed to the ship's cargo bay. "It left some surprises in here." "Plasma mines." Valari understood. While Jack flew toward the enemy, Valari activated the mine system. Lilu sat quietly, clutching a small, soft toy Jack had given her. "Closer. Closer." Then Jack shouted, "Now!" Valari released the mines. The enemy ship didn't see them in time. Boom. A massive explosion lit up the stars. The enemy vessel spun out of control, burning, breaking apart. Jack didn't stop to watch. Turned the ship and shot into deep space. They were free. Hours passed. The ship floated gently now, far from the moon. Jack leaned back in the chair, tired but smiling. We did it. Valari sat beside him, holding Lilu in her arms. Lilu looked. "Up, Papa. We going home?" Jack looked at Val. Lar, she smiled. "Yes, little one. Home. The enemy ship exploded behind them, but Jack knew that danger was not over. The galaxy was full of hunters, slavers, people who wanted to take Valari, Lilu, or him. He had no idea who else was watching, waiting for a chance. Inside the slavers' ship, the engines hummed quietly. Jack had fixed most of the controls, but the weapon systems were still dark. He was tired. His side ached from the fight. His eyes burned. Valari held Lilu close. The little girl was asleep now, her head resting against her mother's shoulder. Valari's eyes were wide with worry. "We can't stay here long," Jack said. "If they send backup, we'll be trapped." Valari nodded. "Safe place. Somewhere no one will look," Jack thought for a moment. "There's a space station not far from here. Neutral zone. A war's allowed." Valari smiled faintly. "That sounds like a good place." Jack checked the ship's map. It'll take a few hours to get there. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. "Contact!" Jack shouted. Another ship. Think through the viewport they saw a fast, black ship closing in. It was smaller than the one they destroyed, but moved quickly. "They're chasing us again," Valari said, voice trembling. Jack gripped the controls. "We can't fight them. Not with this ship." Velar looked down at Lilu. "We must hide." Jack nodded. "There's an asteroid field nearby. We can hide there." The ship veered sharply toward the field. Huge rocks and ice chunks floated silently in space. Jack navigated between them with skill. The enemy ship followed, firing bursts of plasma. Jack ducked and weaved, using the rocks for cover. Suddenly, a big rock exploded near the enemy ship. They lost control and crashed into another asteroid with a loud boom. Jack let out a breath. We lost them. For now. They moved slowly through the asteroid field, searching for a place to rest. Valari cleaned Lilu's small face gently. "Thank you, Jack," she said softly. "For everything." Jack smiled. "No thanks needed. We're family now." Larry looked at him. "Do you think we will be safe?" Jack thought for a moment. "No, but as long as we stick together, we can face anything." Suddenly, a soft alarm beeped from the cargo bay. Jack frowned. "What's that?" He opened the door and looked inside. Lilu was missing. "Lilu!" Larry cried, panic rising in her voice. Jack grabbed his blaster and ran down the corridors. He found a trail of small footprints leading to a side hatch. He opened it carefully. Outside, on a small asteroid surface, he saw a shadow, a tall figure holding Lilu. The shadow turned. It was one of the slavers, the one Jack had knocked out before. The slaver smiled cruelly. "Looking for this?" Jack raised his weapon. "Let her go." Slaver laughed. "You humans are brave. I'll give you a choice. Surrender, or she dies." Jack didn't answer. He remembered Valari's words. A mother fights back. Suddenly, Valari appeared behind the slaver. Wielding a sharp metal pipe she had made into a weapon, she hit him hard. On the back. The slaver stumbled but grabbed Valari's arm. Jack fired a warning shot. The slaver released. Valerian tightened his grip on Lilu. Valari fought harder. She kicked, punched, and screamed. Jack rushed forward and tackled the slaver. They wrestled. Fiercely, the slaver's blade flashed. Jack caught the arm just in time. He twisted and slammed the slaver's head against a rock. The slaver went limp. Valari dropped to her knees, holding Lilu close. "Never again," she whispered. Jack helped her up. Lilu looked at them, eyes wide but safe. Jack smiled. "You see, we fight as one?" Valari wiped tears from her face. "I never thought I could be so strong." Jack put his arm around her. "You are, because you have to be." They returned to the ship. Jack started the engines. "We go to the space station," he said. "We find help." Valari nodded. Lilu smiled and held both their hands. Jack looked at them and knew, no matter what the galaxy threw at them, together they were unstoppable. The ship hummed quietly as it approached the space station. Jack sat in the pilot's chair, eyes scanning the controls. Valari sat beside him, holding Lilu close. The little girl's eyes were bright, full of hope for the first time in weeks. Jack's Heart beat faster. After all they had been through, rescue was near. But there was still one question on his mind. Would the humans at the station trust Valari and her daughter? Would they accept them? The space station was massive bright lights, tall towers, and ships coming and going from all sides. Jack carefully guided their small slaver ship into the docking bay. The doors opened with a hiss. A group of humans in uniform approached, weapons lowered, but ready. Jack stepped out, holding Lilu's hand. Valari followed, looking tired but strong. A tall woman with silver hair and sharp eyes walked forward. "I'm Commander Harris. I got your distress call." Jack nodded. "I'm Jack Carter. This is Valari and her daughter Lilu. There. Thaleen. We escaped slavers." Commander Harris looked at Valari and then at Lilu. "We don't see many Thaleen here. You're safe now." Valari's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." In the station's medical bay, doctors examined Valari. And Lilu, the little girl, had lost weight, but was otherwise healthy. Jack sat beside them, holding Valari's hand. "You're safe here." Valari smiled weakly. For the first time in a long time, Lilu played with a small toy ship Jack had given her. She looked at him and whispered, "Papa." Jack's eyes softened. "That's right, little one." Days turned into weeks. Valari and Lilu stayed in the station's care. They were offered a new home on a peaceful human colony planet. Jack visited often. He helped teach Valari how to use human technology and learn their language better. Valari shared stories of the Thaleen culture. Slowly, the two grew closer. One evening, Jack sat with Valari on the station's observation deck. Stars glittered outside like diamonds. Valari took a deep breath. "Jack, will you stay with us? Not just as a friend, but as family?" Jack smiled, feeling warmth spread through his chest. "I never thought I'd find a family out here in the stars. But I have. And I'm not leaving." Months later, on the new colony planet, Jack, Valari, and Lilu stood side by side. The air was fresh, the sky a soft blue. Lilu ran ahead, laughing. Valari watched her daughter, a proud smile on her face. Jack looked at them both. "We survived the worst. But this is just the beginning." Valari took his hand. "Together, we will build a new home, a better future."
Jack nodded.
"For our family." The story ends with the three of them planting a flag on the new planet's soil. The flag shows Earth's symbol, a Thaleen emblem, and a small child's. HANDPRINT. Jack looked up at the stars and whispered, "Family comes first. Always."